I have self check-ins, which is something that I do too, where every so often I'll check in with myself in regards to my creative projects and the things that I'm doing to
Okay.
see if something has changed for me, to see if maybe I want to expound upon something, or maybe I don't really want to go this route anymore. Maybe I want to go this route with it. So I do give myself a certain level of flexibility with my creativity, but I definitely allow myself to visualize what that end game is for me on those various creative projects.
NL Publishing Service Academy proudly presents Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast with literary success consultant DK Walker, sharing with you writing tips, marketing ideas, publishing information, and inspiring interviews for your author journey. So, without further ado, let's get right into it with DK Walker.
Hey, I'm DK Walker. This is Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast, the #1 podcast for self-published authors. And today I have a friend to the room, the beautiful AM Darling. AM Darling, say what's up to the people.
What's up, y'all?
So she is such a sweetheart because this is our second go around for the first time. Our first interview, we had some technical difficulties, so we're trying this again. So she was so sweet enough to do this for me. I am forever in her debt. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So since our last meeting, there's quite a few things I want to touch base with you about. Of course, your book, Red Souls. We're definitely going to do a deep dive into that. But before we get started into that, you was on TikTok today and you had a little bit of drama talking about I believe the first draft you was having trouble with, if I'm not mistaken, how messy it. And okay, so it was a lot to unpack, right? And I wanted to get into it with you there. I'm like, no, this will make for great stuff on the podcast. So I'm gonna wait and we're gonna unpack that, then jump into Red Souls, then we're gonna jump into your current WIP if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Cool. So what made you forget so quickly that the first draft, although you love it, although it's picture perfect in your mind, to actually take it from mine and then put it on paper, henceforth laptop computer, it's work. So how did we forget that soon? Because you just did your first book.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think because I spent months in the editing process with my first book and months crafting it to just be like chef's kiss, you know what I mean? Like
Got you.
me and my editor, we hammered out that book to perfection. So I think I just got so used to seeing it structured a certain way that I don't think I like fully mentally prepared myself for going into writing the second book and seeing it very unstructured and unorganized and just messy. Not that I necessarily did not expect it to be that way, but I think I just didn't really think about it. And because I didn't really think about it, when I did go into it, it threw me a little bit and it sent me back into that memory of when I was first starting book one.
Okay.
And how I used to spend so much time going back in these chapters and these scenes that I would write, trying to edit those chapters and those scenes to perfection, that it actually took me a while to write book one because I was, I guess you could say, anal about trying to get a chapter or scene down correctly and organized correctly. And then of course it wasn't until last summer that I actually sat down and fully committed to writing book one, where I told myself, girl, you cannot be worrying too much about edits right now. You just got to write. You just got to write. You can't be worrying about that. And yeah, doing this whole experience again with book two has really just sent me into that space of memory. And I was like, how did I forget this feeling?
That dreaded feeling. So I guess my question to you is, my next question is, what is your mental writing approach? Right. And the reason that I asked that, because I would think it would be easier, right? Because you're not crafting from actually nothing, because this is a continuation of your trilogy, right? So therefore, you mentally pick the spot in your book that you're going to pick up from, right? Do you know how the second installment is going to end?
Yeah, I know how the second installment's going to end. I pretty much know the entire plots of book 2. But as you were saying, it's just a matter of actualizing it from your mental space actually onto the screen or onto paper. And that has been the hard part because, yes, even though I know the plot and everything, actually, I think, I don't know, I wouldn't say that's the hard part. It's the same. It feels the same. I think the hard part is not getting caught up in trying to please everybody.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. Let's unpack that. Because that's what happens. So when you say, let me ask this question. When you say please everybody, are we talking about your target market or who?
Yeah, the people who've read the book. There have been quite a few people who've read it so far and they
Congrats.
love it, which is fantastic. But I feel like that puts an added pressure in a way, because to me, I feel like book 2 needs to be just as good, if not better. And so even though, yes, I have it plotted in my head how I would like it to go for the most part, giving myself, of course, wiggle room to change and transition some things as I go.
Okay.
I still, I think I get that little bit of intrusive thoughts, if you will, wondering if it's really going to be best, better than the last one or as good. And so I think part of the other struggle too is just getting my mental space past that, so
Right.
that I can have that freedom to just write what it is that I'm trying to write and not overanalyze it.
Learn how to write faster, conquer writer's block, and tell a story your readers will love. In less than 1 month, writing only 3 pages daily, you can go from book idea to manuscript using the unfair writing advantage. Most authors take 8 months on average to write just 1 book. But in a fraction of that time, you will learn how to craft a book your readers will love and not be hunched over your laptop days on end to do so. Just go to www.theunfairwritingadvantage.com to see what has the self-publishing industry buzzing. Now back to the podcast.
Got you. I'm King Cheater, and I don't mean I cheat on my wife, just in case she listens to this podcast. But what I mean by that, I do find so many hacks. I believe in working smarter and not harder. And what I mean by that, since your first book has been well received, that's confirmation enough that you're on the right path. So it's not like you're from scratch. We're building blocks. Like I know what works. I'm going to build upon what works. So they love this. I'll give them more of this. They really love this. I'm gonna go deeper into, and that's just me. If it's a formula, I'm not going to deviate. If you love it, if you like it, you're going to eventually love it, and then you're going to not be able to live without it, because I'm going to stay tethered to that tried and true formula. And that's my hack for getting, because I think all authors suffer from that, especially when your first book has been well received. So if you get more good reviews than bad reviews, you know you're on to something. And then that pressure is, can I repeat? Of course you can repeat because you did it the first time. But of course, you have to get out your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. There's something else that you did on TikTok that I thought was really ballsy. I'm like, this girl you did something that a lot of people don't do. And I don't know if you was necessarily aware. I commented on one of your posts when I said it was great marketing, whereas you was telling people that every day I'm going to come and tell y'all my word count for the day, right? That's ballsy, because we all know some days it's just not there. Some days it's just like, I got things to do, like my favorite TV show's on. I want to go eat. Nope, this bed feels too good. But you've committed to the TT community. Like every day you're going to get an update. And then you gave actual numbers. You said you're looking for your book between 90 and 93,000 words, if I'm not mistaken, correct? So that
93,095, yeah.
So let's go with 95,000. So you're looking at, if you do 1,500 words a day, you're looking at roughly about 90 days. If I'm doing the math in my head, 90 days in 90 days, I'm doing 1,500 words come hell of high water. Like that is, but the beauty in that, I don't know if you realize what you were doing, like you made the public your accountability partner.
I actually did that on purpose.
Lord have mercy. Somebody get this girl a drink.
I did it on purpose, because the last time with book 1, I challenged myself.
Okay.
In which I was like, every single day for at least 30 days, I was going to write something, whether it was just a word, a sentence, a paragraph, a whole freaking chapter. It didn't matter. Like, I just needed to write something. I challenged myself with that, and I actually took it to 56 days. And I liked that. I didn't really slack. I think I had one day where I missed it, and it was towards the beginning of when I started.
Okay.
But I told myself that I really wanted to do this challenge again. And I was like, why not bring in my audience? Like, why not bring people, involve other people? Because it could maybe inspire some other people to take on the challenge themselves. Maybe they would want to follow along with the challenge themselves. And B, it does hold me accountable, because now I actually have to remind myself to show up and do this every single day, because I done told everybody that I was going to do it every single day.
Yes, you did. Yeah. And that, you got to right. You got to really commend yourself for that, right? Celebrate that win. A lot of people don't hold themselves to that. That's high accountability. So you really, I don't know what you've done so far. I don't know if you've gone out. I don't know if you had a bowl of ice cream or brownie. I don't know what you've done to celebrate that win, whether it be small or big. Make sure that you celebrate that win, because a lot of authors don't. Me personally, no, I'm not. No, because there's going to be times like it's not happening. Nobody needs to know it's not happening. When they see it's roses, like I'm killing it. I ain't done shit, but I'm killing it, to say the least. Let's jump into your first book. Where are you in comparison? Where are you at with your new book in comparison to your old book, like mindset wise? Do you see yourself growing as an author?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see myself growing as an author. I think when I started book one, I really wasn't sure what path I was going to take in terms of authorship.
Okay.
I knew obviously that I wanted to write this trilogy. Actually, when I first started the book, book one wasn't even going to be a trilogy. Originally, book one was going to just be one book.
Okay.
But then I got to a certain point in book one where I realized that I had a lot of potential to become a trilogy, and a really good trilogy. And so I had to have a sit down talk with myself. And I said, okay, if you decide to take this on, you have to commit. You can't just do a book and then maybe I'll do book two or book three. No, you're going to do book one. And if you're going to make it a trilogy, you have to tough it out. You've got to make it to book three. Like, you just got to. And so I really had to analyze at that time whether that was something that I felt like I wanted to do. And of course, I love writing. I've been a writer since I was about 10 years old. I knew that it's not like I'm trying to force myself to do something that I don't enjoy. It was more so, do I have the capability of getting my mental space to a point in which I can make this happen? And so it was really just confronting with myself, be like, yeah, I do believe in myself. I can make this happen. And so that's when I decided. Now going into book two, I'm very much down, so much more down, I think, to finish the other two books. Not only that, but I already have other ideas for other books in the works as well, which is exciting.
Okay.
And have been, considering the possibility of working with maybe another author in the future to
collab.
Yeah, collab. So I've been expanding my thoughts and my ideas in regards to where I want to take being an author.
Okay. All right. There's nothing more satisfying to know your end game, reverse engineering. I see the end, but I know there's a lot of work getting towards the end. And the crazy part is, once you get towards the end, there's another mountain to climb, which is a beautiful thing. That means you're growing. And as you're growing, you bring your audience along with you as well. What advice, I know it's a very short time period, what advice would you give AM of book one to AM of book two right now? Like, with your realization that the first draft is messy. If you had to give yourself advice, like, girl, get over it. This is not far removed from what we've done.
Writing your manuscript has been hard enough, so let NL Publishing Service Academy make self-publishing your book easy as possible. From beautifully designed full and ebook covers to uniquely done typesetting and formatting, our goal is to professionally enhance your manuscripts and book covers to give your readers the best reading experience possible. Need marketing tips, tactics, and strategies? We can help you with that. How about branding and broadening the reach of your author platform? Yep, we can help you with that too. So no matter what your self-publishing needs are, NL Publishing Service Academy has you covered. Just head over to www.nlpublishingservices.com for whatever your self-publishing needs are. And now back to the podcast.
My advice would be to remember what I'm capable of.
Facts.
I already
Yeah,
proved myself with book one. So
1000%.
I think
Right.
it's just reminding myself that you're capable of this and not allowing myself to get too caught up in my head and over analyzing intrusive thoughts and things like that, and just being like, girl, look what you already did. You already did it. You're just continuing it. So I think that's my biggest advice, is just to remember what I'm capable of.
Okay, that's definitely sound advice. Like the proof is in the pudding, right? Sometimes you have to
Mhm.
believe. I think to a degree, authors have to be slightly egomaniacs. I do believe you have to believe before anybody else believe, because it's only you, your laptop, and your thoughts. And so in that
Yeah.
process, you have to believe. Think about it. If you write boring work, then readers will read your work boringly. If you're writing
Yeah.
exciting work and you're geek to get into your laptop, you're geek into getting to your writing space because you know what you're about to do is really exciting. That energy
Hmm.
translates to your readers. And that's a
Yep.
win-win for both parties involved. Next question. I know that you're holding yourself accountable on TikTok. Are you holding yourself accountable any other major social platform?
Instagram as well.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, she really jumped out the window with no parachute. I'm going. There's no parachute.
I
Anybody
know.
Anybody can call me on it at any time. It's our last part. You spoke of that you're quite a creative person. Do you think that because you have so many talents that it helps you to see the end game with your writing?
Yeah, yeah, like I think so, because I'm always thinking about the next big creative thing that I can do. And so I think that whether I am writing or whether I am working on fine art or whether I'm drawing or whatever I do that is creative, I think I always have the end game in mind. Like, where would I like this to take me? Like,
Mm.
where would I like to go with this? And I'd never really hold myself to super high expectations because life happens and things change. However, I do allow myself to have goals that I strive towards, and I have self check-ins, which is something that I do too, where every so often I'll check in with myself in regards to my creative projects and the things that I'm doing, to
Okay.
see if something has changed for me, to see if maybe I want to expound upon something, or maybe I don't really want to go this route anymore. Maybe I want to go this route with it. So I do give myself a certain level of flexibility with my creativity, but I definitely allow myself to visualize what that end game is for me on those various creative projects.
Cool, cool, cool. What has been a pleasant surprise with Red Souls? Like, what came down to you? Like, I didn't expect that, but I'm glad it came.
I think that's actually a really good question.
I I tried my best. I tried my best.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Something that I didn't expect. There's this weird part of me that wants to say the reviews for it have been good. I kind of want to say that, but then there's that part of me in the back of my mind that's, girl, you already knew that was gonna happen. But I'm trying to be humble.
Why?
I think I guess
That's too
because
funny.
it's not too surprising for me in a way, because when I wrote the book, like, I knew I had a good book. I think honestly I would have been surprised if it didn't happen that way, because then I would have been like, oh shoot, like, where did I go wrong? But in my mind, like, I had a really solid book and a start to a really solid trilogy. The reviews weren't too surprising for me. I'm trying to think about something that okay. In regards to Red Souls, I think the thing that I didn't expect, but didn't expect to the extent in which it happened, was how difficult it was to pull it all together. Because,
Yes.
I'm self-published. So I don't have a company that is getting all of this together for me in regards to advertising, marketing, the structuring of the book, the formatting of the book, like all those things that come along with putting your book out there. I knew that it would be difficult. I didn't at all think it would be easy, but I didn't expect it to be quite as difficult as I think that it was.
Got you. So let me ask, what made that part difficult? So let me chime in before I let you answer that question, if you don't mind. Most authors that I've worked with, what makes it difficult for them is they actually wait to the end to do all the stuff they could be doing along with the writing, not realizing that when you have downtime and you're not writing, you can get your cover done. Like not realizing that you can be fishing around because you got 3 chapters. You can send those 3 chapters off to various editors and they'll send you feedback, and then you get to pick and choose who you're going to do, who's going to edit your book. As far as marketing actually starts when you sit down to write. People think that marketing your book comes after the book. No, marketing, as soon as that idea hits your head, marketing begins, because it's easier to sell a book in process than you get to, and then now you got to build anticipation. Now you're frustrated because I have a book nobody's buying. It's not that a person doesn't have a good book, you just late to the marketing game. So if authors, and this is advice for you and other authors, do that stuff as you write. And as you get down to your final drafts, like that's all it should be. I have a pre-sale date if you're going to go that route. Everything else is done. I just need to hit this button and we out of here. But that's trial and error, to say the least. So that begs me to ask, do you have your ducks in a row this time out?
Yes, this time.
Did you see her eyes? She was so excited.
Yes, I think that was honestly something that I really wish that I would have done. If I could go back and redo things how I handled, especially marketing with Red Souls, I would have, when I was doing the challenge last summer for myself, I would have started it then. Similar to what I'm doing now with book 2 and getting people invested in the process of the book. I wish I would have come up with the social media markets and everything like that, but I did. I waited till last minute to get that together. And so then I'm scrambling to do social media, marketing, formatting, cover design. Like I was scrambling to do everything, and it was so overwhelming. And yes, I pulled it off, but I pulled it off under so much stress. And so going into book 2, I'm like, no, we are not doing that this time. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that I'm able to start from the beginning and allow people to take the journey with me from the very beginning of me writing this book till it hits shelves. You know what I mean? Till it hits the market. And I think like doing that, bringing people along with the journey and keeping them updated and allowing them to be in the know with what you're doing really allows them to get excited with you.
It does.
The closer you get to releasing your book. And yeah, that's my tactic this time around, is to be more engaging with the audience that I'm looking to attract and that I have attracted, and really allow them to feel as though they're part of the process with me. That they can be extra excited when the book releases.
1,000%. I think an excited reader or an excited potential reader always converts easier than a lukewarm reader, a person that barely knows you. And as far as your TikTok account, I love what you're doing. Like, people don't understand. Talk about your product, meaning your book, every day, all day. Of course, you catch a trend, you catch a cute trend, but segue that back into your book. The reason being, everybody that doesn't see that TikTok, right? So it has to be a constant thing. People think, authors believe that I'm talking about my book too much. No, you can't talk about your product enough. Eat, sleep, breathe. I don't care what social platform that you're on. A post shouldn't go by without an author talking about their book. And don't worry about if that's all your audience is seeing. If you're an author, that's all that you want them to see.
Because there's somebody out there who hasn't seen it.
1,000%. 1,000%. But it's all trial and error. Like, it's all, unless you know all the stuff going in, you have to learning curves, right? Learning curves, to say the least. Jumping into your current work in progress, how far are you? I know you're on your, I want to say third day. Is it third day that you started?
Yes, it's my third day of writing. I took some time to plot it out and really prepare myself for what it's all going to be about. So this is officially my third day writing. It's going so far. It's going well. I think the first 2 days, it was a tad bit challenging trying to get myself back into the flow of it and trying to pick up where I left off.
Okay.
In the sense that I wanted it to, me being a perfectionist, I wanted it to be completely fluid and make sense. And I think that's where the whole conversation of being like the first draft is really messy thing came to be, because yeah, this first chapter is probably not as fluid as that I was hoping that it would be. I feel like it's really choppy for me,
Okay.
but I know that's just because it's a rough draft. Like
Right.
anything that you start putting together at first is not going to be perfect. But me and my little perfectionist head, I really was hoping to go into it and just have it like flow for me, like water, and spill out onto the paper and be like perfection. And it's proving not to be exactly that. Not that it's bad, it's
Right.
just not how I had it in my head. And so that's what's been tripping me up. But honestly, today I just told myself, like, girl, like, you need to calm down. It's fine. It's all good. You know what I mean? And once I told myself that, I actually had inspiration for a prologue, and I was like, oh my god, I should do this. And I sat down and I got it all typed out,
Okay.
and yeah, it felt good. It felt good to not allow my own stress to get in the way of my creative flow.
Got you. Authors, we are our biggest enemy. I promise you, we are by far our biggest enemy. Let me give you a quick hack when it comes to that thing called perfection. Perfection is elusive. Perfection is like trying to catch a Malibu Bay breeze with your hand. Impossible. But what's attainable is excellence. Excellence
Mhm.
is so attainable, right?
Yeah.
You can tell an excellent story and it can have a plot hole here, it can have a typo here. No disrespect, but look at the Bible. You can tell
Yep.
you can tell an excellent story, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And once
Mhm.
we understand that I can tell a great story and then there are going to be some missteps and miscues, I think what happens is, and I think you said it beautifully, authors hold ourselves at such a high regard that our readers really don't. Our readers want a really good to great story, but we want that perfect story. And if you look at anything, any movie, if you read any book, you'll find something that could have been done better. And once you release,
Absolutely.
yeah, once you release yourself from that, and it gives you so much freedom to really step into your creativity and let it pour from you like the water that you seek. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, to say the least, to say the least, to say the least. So, with that being said, how do you see this all coming together for you within the year? Do you see yourself doing both books in your trilogy within the year, or just getting out book two?
I think that it will probably be that I'll just get out book 2 this year, but I will probably be well into book 3 by the end of the year is what I'm thinking. My hope right now is to get book 2 published by like end of August is like my hope right now. And then of course I like to give myself like a little month break in between writing.
Rightfully so, right? Like you don't want to burn out.
Exactly. But then I'll probably spend October to the end of the year writing book 3. And then if I can get book 3 published by very beginning of next year, then that'd be great. That'd mean that I would have had 3 books put out in an entire year,
Mm.
since I just published Red Souls in February. That's my goal.
It's attainable. It's definitely attainable. And I think by you having social media hold you accountable, it's really going to be a constant reminder, right? Because anytime that you jump on social media, you're jumping on there not to socialize, but you're jumping on there for a purpose. Like I'm
To do
not
some
here,
work.
right, to let y'all know what work I've done, right? I just can't come up here and just be beautiful. That's a bonus, right? But here's some numbers. I got to point to my numbers, right? Yeah, to say the least. After you're done your trilogy, where do you see yourself going from there? I know you said you had other things in iFries, maybe a collab coming down the pike. How was that looking, and how did that come about? At least that idea.
The idea to
Co-
collab, or
yes,
the
ma'am.
idea to, well, I've had a couple authors actually who've reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in collabing with a book in the future. And it was something I was just like, that could be fun. And because I know that there are authors, I think that's a thing, like where authors are out there collabing with each other if they like each other's style
Work.
of writing, work, etc. And I was like, that might not be a bad idea, especially if I can come across an author who has a writing style and vision that melds together really nicely with my own. I feel like that could be a cool thing to do. They bring their audience in, I bring my audience in, and we create like a big audience of individuals who are invested in something that we create together. So I don't know, I like the idea. I'm not opposed to it. So it is something that I'm definitely taking into consideration for sure.
Right. Well, once again, that's smart marketing. What you just said, we're melding audiences, right? And so if they have a humongous audience, you have your humongous audience. That's a win-win. So now their audience is going to start to buy your books without them, and vice versa. I think a lot of authors, especially new authors, need to actually look into collaborations if things are not going well for them. You get to introduce your work to another part of the target market, right? But of course, like you said, there's certain things that you have to look for. Got to make sure that the writing styles mesh, that both of y'all are serious. Then of course you guys to take care of the financials up front. Like, yeah, definitely have to take care of that up front.
Yeah.
To say the least. I know that you also said that you like to paint and draw, if I'm not mistaken. How is that coming? And do you see yourself incorporating that in your writing somehow?
The drawing is going great.
Congrats.
I absolutely love doing it. Being an artist is just in me. Any chance I get to take inspiration from the world and put it down on paper in some way, I grab. So it's fantastic. I don't know, I guess, about, what did you say, merging it with writing? I don't know. I think there's potential for that at some point. Honestly, if I were to do that, I would probably want to do it more if I were to write like a paranormal fantasy romance, which I have been interested in doing at some point. I do have a book that I've been working on for quite a while that is a paranormal romance. And eventually, at some point, I will finish it and I will publish it.
All you got to do is let social media know, and yeah, they'll get on you to finish it. Yeah, I think that's another form of great marketing, when you can have one skill and have that skill speak to your writing. Like this drawing was inspired by this piece of my writing, and vice versa, if that makes sense what I'm saying to you. So it's like bridging the best of two worlds. Like you may have a sect of people that love you for your artistic side, but they're not familiar with you being an author. And so you can actually bring that together because you have more than one talent.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like that could be good with like marketing too, like creating a piece inspired by my book, or a few pieces inspired by my book and putting it out there. I think that could be something that quite a few people would be intrigued by. So I do like that idea.
Not a problem, 1,000%. And our last podcast that unfortunately didn't air, you spoke of how you use music to be inspired and write too, as well. You actually created a playlist for Red Souls, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I created a playlist for Red Souls, and it is printed in the book, the playlist. Someone actually told me recently, they're like, oh, you should put this playlist on Spotify. And I'm like, you got a good idea. I think I might do that.
You should. Yeah. And if there's any way to say that this playlist was inspired by my book, and leave a link if that's possible, that's just it's another way of, you know what I mean? For sure. And that's the beautiful thing about marketing. People think that marketing has to be run ads on whatever social media platform. People think marketing has to be organic, and it's either one or the other. But there's so many ways to market when you're doing it organically. You can actually pull so much of your creativity doing it organically than you can doing it through paid ads. Now, it's an uphill battle through organic, because you can't miss a day. You have to be consistent in your efforts. Now, with paid ads, you find your target market, make sure that your copy converts, set your budget, hopefully that you'll convert before your budget runs out. But when you have talents, and it doesn't disguise the limit, you just have to, how creative can I be to get eyes on my product? And that's the mindset. How creative can I be? Because that's all organic marketing is. I just need to introduce you to my product. That's it. And that's all, right? Find various ways of doing that. And there you have it. I want to do, before we get back into this podcast, I want to do a podcast with you talking about music that inspires. Right? Because I think so many authors use music when they're writing. And I'm pretty sure that you have an extensive background into the things that inspire you when you write your books. Speaking of that, are you using music to write your second book as well, or writing along with your second?
I am. So I actually created a playlist for each of my books.
Okay.
So like when I was writing Red Souls, by the time I got done writing Red Souls, any other music that I came across that I was inspired by, I would put into a whole separate playlist specifically for this book that I'm currently writing.
Okay.
So I have over 300 songs on that playlist.
Goodness, man.
And so I just let them play. Now, once in a while, there will be specific playlists that I will actually go and find for specific scenes. If it's a sad scene, or it's a very, let's say, a vengeful scene,
Okay.
or like I'm feeling like a badass today scene, that
So
I will go and I will search for playlists like that already on YouTube, and I'll just run them and put them on a loop over and over again while I'm writing a specific scene.
wow. So we definitely have that in common. I promise. I wrote a book I don't know if it's still there. It's on Netflix. Like Justin Timberlake had his concert on Netflix. Like I wrote Bad Kenny second story. Like I go to Starbucks, get set up, and it just be me and JT. I'm just bobbing my head and like this man. I'm just like, and it's crazy. Some people can't write. I can't write, although I love rap, right? I can't write to rap because I have to pay attention to the words. But if somebody's
Yeah.
singing, like I can actually tune up the words, but it puts me in a certain mood and that
Yes.
flow get to going, and it's a good look.
There's certain melodies that just match a vibe.
Thank you for taking the words out of my mouth. Give me a few examples if you're writing a scene that's heartfelt, pulling at the heartstrings. What music would you be listening to at that time?
A lot of times when I'm writing songs that pull at my heartstrings, there's two that I'll either go to. I will listen to instrumentals, and not necessarily sad instrumentals, but instrumental songs where it's just melodic and it feels, like Hans Zimmer. Hans
Okay.
Zimmer.
Okay.
Hans Zimmer has very impactful music. It's like when you listen to a lot of his songs, there's a certain type of power. It makes you feel something. You don't have to hear in order to feel like taken into a particular place with that type of music. So sometimes like Hans Zimmer-esque type music is what I'll listen to. Something that has a more somber tone, isn't necessarily sad, but there's like impact and power behind it. And then other times I will listen to songs that are maybe on the sadder side, maybe talk about love in particular, since this is a romance.
Got you.
But I've listened to playlists that are titled "He's Gone and He May Not Come Back." And let's say the
Okay.
playlist is titled that. And in that playlist, there's a bunch of songs about yearning for somebody and missing them and wishing they were still here, things like that. And some of those playlists, they'll put like a thunderstorm in the background and stuff like that. It's moody. And so I usually listen to those types of songs whenever I'm writing
Got
more
you.
pull at your heartstring type
So
scenes.
when you're feeling like a badass, or your character's feeling like a badass, what songs are those that you listen to?
Oh yeah, the list goes on. Like we can listen to some Beyonce. We can listen.
That's the go-to, right? That's the go-to.
Yes. We can listen to some Beyonce. We can listen to some Tiana Taylor. We can listen to some Cardi B. So there's a long list. I'll even listen to Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey sometimes has sadder songs, but sometimes her songs can be about like just letting loose and being wild and free. So like any type of song that really encapsulates that feeling of owning something, like I'm out here on my stuff, like I'm letting loose, I'm getting out, I'm that bitch, you know what I mean? Like any type of song like that is
Got you.
what I go for.
Not a problem. A lot of authors actually tap into personal experiences or parts of them when they write. How much of you, if you had to give a percentage, do you find yourself being in the books? And before you answer that question, I'm gonna jump out the window first. So my first book was called The Ugly Side of Sex. It's about a guy that had sex addiction, porn addiction, but he didn't want help. A lot of people that's an addict want help. he was hell bent on spiraling out of control. And I told it from that aspect. Like, I didn't want, and it's crazy. I wrote the book not in the aspect of helping somebody, just this is the worst case scenario. If you're living for pleasure, if you're just a thrill seeker, pleasure seeker, and you don't want anything else in life, there's ramifications. And I had so many people come up to me wanting to have a conversation with their battle with porn, with their battle of sexual addiction, and which was me. And my hat, because I'm King Cheat, I will always tap into me when I'm writing certain aspects of my book. How often do you do that? How often do you let you into just a little bit? Does that make it easy for you to write your characters?
All the time. A lot of times when I write from the depths of my experiences.
Speak on it.
And how I want to portray that in an artistic way to get a story or a message across, in a sense, right? So, for example, like with Red Souls, I think the biggest thing with me is I wanted to portray sexy eroticism relationship between a man and a woman in like I suppose maybe like a less toxic aspect.
Okay.
I think I'm a part of the BDSM community, and I don't mind saying that, but I'm a part of the BDSM community, and sometimes I feel like I wish there was more representation of like healthy BDSM, like healthy conversations and how things happen and how things go down. And I wanted to make sure that in this book, I portrayed that as accurately as possible.
Okay.
Things like 50 Shades of Grey and stuff like that. Yes, to an extent, there are some very realistic scenarios, but I also feel like some of the ways in which certain things get put out there gives a very kind of obscured view of what healthy BDSM is supposed to be.
But that was far as commercial. It had to go over commercially. So a lot of stuff is not going to be shining the best light. How happy are you being an author in this day and age, right? How happy are you? And the reason that I asked that, if you go through TikTok and the various social media platforms, you have what I call as a pity party. You have so many authors bemoaning what's wrong, and there's very few authors celebrating what's right. I'm gonna try my best not to be long-winded here. I think the beauty of being a self-published author is you get to control everything. But the flip side of that coin is you get all of the work.
Yeah.
And so writing does not sell your book. It's the work that you do beforehand. Once you become an established author, once you become a Stephen King, once you become a James Patterson, their work sells the book. The work that we do as self-published authors, that sells it. So the marketing and stuff. So how happy are you as a self-published author as of this recording?
I'm still very happy being a self-published author. Like, I chose this route because I wanted that freedom. I didn't want my book to be so tightly constricted to the requirements or the desires of a company or anybody else. I wanted it to be put out there, and I wanted to have the say on what happens with my work. And that's exactly what's happening. And yes, it might not be gaining as much attention right now as it would be if I were to go the traditional published route. But the truth of the matter is, like, I knew coming into this that there would be a learning curve, like a great learning curve, and that it might be years until my book really truly gets the type of recognition that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But again, I guess it goes back to what I was saying. It's like, I do not hold expectations when it comes to my work. I'm putting it out there first and foremost because I want to put my work out there. And I believe my work deserves to be seen and it deserves to be appreciated, whether it's by one person or whether it's by thousands and thousands of people.
Gotcha.
Like, my mission in writing was to publish work that I stood behind and that I believed in. Now, that saying, of course, I do want to market myself, but I don't believe in sitting back and having pity parties about it. That just takes time, and time is money. So
1,000%. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep working. Just keep working at it.
I think
Yeah.
great stories, at the end of the day, the great stories trump all, right? So what happens is authors got to realize, especially self-published authors, it's a rarity. Don't get me wrong, you have some authors that they understand the system, they get in and they start making money right away. But for the authors, I don't want authors to get discouraged, because most self-published authors actually make money on the back end. So you'll never know when a person discovers your work. They may discover your work fourth or your fifth book in. But if you have great stories, like what they're going to do, they're going to read everything of yours. Like, it's a rarity, because I'm pretty sure that you're a reader. You'll read somebody that you'll love, and you don't know where you stumbled upon their work at. But if they're good, you're going to read their whole collection. So the advice to authors, like, you have to keep going, no matter what the numbers originally look like. You got to keep putting out great stories. And what happens is that your tribe, people that love your work, will find you. And when they do, they're going to read all of your work, and then you'll see your money start to increase. But if you stop at the 2 to 3 books in, you'll never reap what you sow. And
Exactly.
and I know that's hard. Like, you be looking like I am. It's Friday night. I'm hunched over this doggone laptop and listening to music. I could be out in these streets. I could be not realize, like, it'll pay off later. But you have to be patient enough for the payoff.
Exactly.
So it's safe to say that you're patient enough for the payoff. How did you gain that patience?
Through other pursuits. Like I said, I do other things. I have 2 other businesses that I started from the ground. I left a career as a flight attendant, a very stable career as a flight attendant, to pursue my dreams, strictly to pursue my dreams. That's why I left. And
Congratulations.
I knew that it was going to take me time. And I think when I first started with my first company, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be great. I'm going to get out here. I'm just going to do it. And I do think that I had certain expectations at that time. But over time, I then realized that I guess you could say that I needed to be patient. I realized I needed to be patient, because if not, I'm going to stress myself out needlessly. I'm going to sit here and always be in my head. I'm going to start beating myself up for things that I wanted to happen that aren't happening yet. And the truth of the matter is that anything good takes time. You want good wine, you got to wait for the wine to get good. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Yeah, you gotta wait. So I think I just through the experience of these other endeavors that I've been doing, I stopped looking at it as, oh my gosh, when is it gonna be my turn? When am I gonna get this? When is this gonna happen to me? And more started looking at it like, girl, start lining yourself up. If you look at millionaires, the people who be making a lot of money, they got 7 different things going on, and they had to start, and all those things fed each other. The money that they used from this, they put it into that. The money that they got from that, they put into that. It all circulated and fed into each other until eventually it started growing and growing. And so one or a few of those things absolutely took off. But they had to be patient too. A lot of people's success doesn't come quickly. And I had to stop having this pity party with myself. But like, why can't I? You can. You just you have to work for it, and you gotta be patient. You gotta allow it to grow. Farmers don't put seeds in the ground and say spring up in a week. You know what I mean? Be ready for me in a week. Like, you have to wait for these things.
1,000%.
They'll be ups and downs, but it'll be worth it. Shoot, that's the way I see it.
Right. So if you don't mind me asking, what's the other 2 businesses that you have?
So I am a spiritual life coach. So I help a lot of people on their journey to living their best lives.
Okay.
And being the best versions of themselves that they can be. And then my art is my other business.
Cool.
Yeah, my other business.
That's a win-win situation for all. I think earlier in the podcast, we was talking about how you can actually take things and, I guess, segue them into another, like one would bleed into the other. And I think you definitely on your way to doing that, to say the least. Before, because I don't want to hold you. It is Friday, right? I don't want to hold you. I'm pretty sure you have other things better than to be talking to me. So I am so grateful that you've taken the time out to do that. But before I let you go, I'll ask you one final question. Where do you see yourself as an author within the next 3 years?
So in the next 3 years, I see myself having published about 6 books.
Okay.
And I see myself really just growing, like going to signings, really putting myself out in the community a lot more, really gaining my audience a lot more, and just being, I think, more active, more engaging as an author, I think is one of the bigger things. Definitely, yeah, I'm hoping 6 books.
Cool. That's definitely what's up for sure. And that's, I actually, you said that's within 3 years. If think about it, you probably knock that out in 2, because if you're on pace to do 3 in 1, right? Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
So as long as you can stave off burnout, right? As long as you can stave off burnout, you should be able to do another 3 in the next year, right? Like that goal that you have set is definitely attainable, to say the least. So with that being said, look, y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all stayed with y'all boy today, man. I greatly appreciate that. Darling, like, thank you once again from the bottom of my heart, because this is our second time around. Yeah, and thank you so much for joining me. Before I go, where can people find you at on social media? Of course, all her information will be in the show notes as well, but I'll still ask.
Yes, you can find me on TikTok. It's A_M_darling. You can also find me on Instagram at author_A.M.darling.
Cool. All your information definitely be in the show notes. If you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, do me a favor and leave me a review. It doesn't hurt anybody. An honest review. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment, share, subscribe to the podcast. With that being said, I'm your host, DK Walker. This is AM Darling. Thank you, beautiful. Y'all take it easy.
This episode of Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast has ended. But please be sure to subscribe for more literary strategies and tactics to help you create the profitable, successful author career you've always wanted. And don't forget to rate and leave a review so we can continue to bring you the best author and book-related content. See you on the next episode.